Please come in. You're right on time. The door only opens when the clock strikes midnight. Georgia and Hannah are preparing to broadcast from the belfry. Just like this old bell tower, they have many stories to tell. Some old and some new. Follow me up these stairs, but mind your step. Ah, they're waiting for you.
Recording in progress.
I was waiting for you to do it.
Recording. That's what I'm doing.
Hey everyone, don't forget to rate and review. The end.
And don't forget to talk about the episodes in our Facebook group or in the comments on Instagram.
Yeah. Or don't forget to tell your mom
that we say hi.
Uh-huh.
And to listen to our podcast.
Here we go. Let's jump right in.
Tell me things. Let me get my notes.
I learned a new word doing this.
Ooh, I learned a lot of new words, so I get it. Tell me the new word. And tell me how to spell it.
Therianthropy.
Huh?
Therianthropy. Theri.
Theri.
Anthropy.
Therianthropy. Okay.
Therianthropy. The ability, or affliction, depending on how you look at it, of a person to shapeshift into an animal or hybrid. This idea has long existed in mythology and folklore alongside another new word I learned. Did I write that down right? Theriocephaly? Or animal headedness, when a being has a human body and an animal head, like depictions of Egyptian deities, like Anubis.
Yeah.
The formerly jackal-headed god, now known to genetically be some kind of wolf, ironically.
Oh, I still, I grew up thinking it was a jackal, so I'm still gonna think it's a jackal.
Yeah.
Sorry. Sure, genetically a wolf, okay.
Yeah. I think they just didn't someone do some DNA testing and was like, it's technically not a jackal, it's technically this kind of wolf, but it looks like a jackal, so something like that.
Yeah, because the wolves are they're just smaller.
Yeah.
I get it. Because some people now think that they see a coyote in their backyard and they're like, oh my God, it's a wolf.
No, dingus.
They've never seen an actual wolf before, or at least an American wolf.
Throughout Europe, it was more common to hear stories of werecats, actually. And Europe's werecats transformed into panthers or just big domestic cats. But then there were also werecats in Africa that became lions or leopards, and werecats in Asia that became tigers. But China also had were-dogs, and so did Greece as well. And in Celtic folklore, there are selkies, or were-seals, as I like to call them.
Were-seals?
Were-seals.
I mean, that's accurate.
It is.
Can you imagine a were-giraffe? Where it's the legs of a person and
just
well, I don't know how to okay, the body of a person, but the hands and feet are hooves, and then just a really long neck, and then a giraffe head. I mean, that's basically that's the opposite of a giraffe centaur,
A giraffe centaur.
Can you imagine a giraffe body with a human torso and head? Oh yeah, that's the one.
I feel like his neck should be longer.
I agree.
And it just has
this looks so stupid.
And it just has a 3-foot turtleneck,
Yeah. For those of you wondering, Georgia just sent me a photo that's a drawing illustration of a person with really long sleeved sweater and just a ginormous giraffe head attached to a human body. The neck is not long at all. And they look so dead inside. Anyway.
Me too. Okay, well, if you could shapeshift into any animal, what would it be?
Oh, I have a couple.
Okay.
Well, the first would obviously be a beluga whale,
Mm-hmm.
because duh. Then maybe like a tree frog.
A poisonous one or a non-poisonous one?
No, not a poisonous one. Because I kind of just want to be slimy and like hopping around, and like I want all the leaves and stuff to look really big, and just munching on bugs. Okay, don't look at me like that. I don't know. I feel like it would be a simple life.
Uh-huh.
And I know this isn't an animal, but I would really want to shapeshift into a rock. Like, I feel like that's my calling. What about you?
I would shapeshift into like my cat, just a fat,
Yeah.
happy, well-loved house cat.
Oh my God. Can you? Speaking of house cat, what an asshole. She is so curled up.
Like her face is like right where the mic is again.
Is she like a donut or a croissant?
She's a lopsided
Okay.
loaf. She's like off to the side a little bit. Okay, so the concept of therianthropy has been around for a long, long time and is believed to be depicted in a cave painting known as the Sorcerer, which looks like a human figure with characteristics or features of several different animals. Oh, I meant to send you a picture of that too. I think it has a penis.
Oh yeah, look at that. Ooh, look at those eyes. That's so cool.
Doesn't it kind of look like an owl in the face?
Yeah, um that's how eyes or and owls are commonly depicted in Mesoamerican petroglyphs.
And then it's got kind of
And
like a flipper arm,
and obviously East African
but
petroglyphs.
peoply feet,
Mm-hmm.
and then a penis and testicles
Antlers,
and a tail.
obviously. Almost like donkey ears.
Yeah.
How interesting.
Like so many great caves with paintings. It's in France. Tell me I'm wrong.
You're not wrong.
It was discovered in 1914 and dates back to about 13,000 BCE.
It's a long time ago.
Yeah. There are also stories of shapeshifters in Native American lore, the word that I'd rather not use to avoid potential calling to said creature or to offend anyone with those beliefs. So to be better safe than sorry, I will call it a dermis wearer.
Okay.
Do you know what I'm referring to?
So I know what you're talking about. I'm not an idiot.
Well, dermis, that gives it away, I think.
Before you even
Uh-huh.
mentioned that,
Well, I
talking
think
about.
there's kind of two different ones, but only one of them shapeshifter.
That's true.
There's the cannibal
Mhm.
one and then the shapeshifter one.
You're right.
These are people with the magical ability to transform into any animal as long as they are wearing the hide of that animal. And then there's a similar belief in Mesoamerica. And those people most often just turn into donkeys, dogs, and turkeys, but sometimes jaguars or pumas, like the werecats. However, unsurprisingly, gosh, I just have a stroke.
I think so.
The most well-known form of therianthropy is werewolves.
Oh, sorry.
Werewolves, they're wolves. Do you get that reference?
No.
It's from Young Frankenstein.
Oh, I have seen that. When? I don't remember when I saw it.
As with most things that I've been covering, werewolves were big in European folklore, and that led into America because of colonialism. Yay! There is a theory that the common origin of werewolf lore can be traced back to a warrior cult of young unmarried boys and men from Proto-Indo-European mythology, which was a rite of passage into manhood. And to be one of those warriors was to exist in liminality between death, because you're a warrior, and adulthood, which I thought was really interesting.
Let's talk about liminality.
I
Ooh.
love talking about liminality.
I follow on Reddit, unfortunately. I am on Reddit. I follow this subreddit called r/liminal spaces. I love it. There are certainly a lot of liminal spaces photographed.
Yeah, it's fascinating.
Yes.
There is a little werewolf energy splashed into the Epic of Gilgamesh, one of the oldest stories we know of from the second millennium BC. Gilgamesh rejects the goddess Ishtar.
Rude.
Second time she was doing zombies, now she's doing werewolves. Like, come on. Because after she grew bored with her previous lover, who was a shepherd, she turned him into a wolf, and he was then killed by his own dogs that helped him protect his flock. So that's sad for him. Herodotus mentioned in his writings a tribe in Scythia, which is the area around the Caspian Sea now, I think, kind of like that part of Russia, Eastern Europe, and Russia. And they were all transformed into wolves for a few days once each year, and then they returned to being normal humans.
Do we know why? It was just a few days.
No.
It was just a thing. Okay.
This was something that the Greeks who settled in that area apparently told Herodotus when he was writing his histories. And a lot of people were like, no, that's not true. But the locals swore up and down that it was true. And that's all I saw about that. There's one version of the story of the Arcadian king Lycaon. Sounds a lot like lycanthropy. From the 2nd century BC. And he was turned into a wolf because he killed a hostage. This story is pretty well known, I think, and tried to feed their entrails to Zeus, who was disguised as a mortal man, in order to test his omnipotence. And Zeus said, ew, gross, and turned Lycaon into a wolf as punishment.
I feel like Zeus has no room to talk.
I know, right?
Like, girl, get out of here.
What was that? There was a meme a long time ago, and it was a picture of Zeus from Disney's Hercules. And it was just him saying, I'm gonna put my dick in it, basically.
Well, he's a horny boy.
All of Greek mythology is Zeus being horny and Hera being mad at him for being horny.
They should have made Disney's Hercules all about horny Zeus.
Another story from the Arcadian region, which I think we would now call the Peloponnesian region of Greece, is that once a year a man was chosen from this particular clan, and he would have to cross a marsh and turn into a wolf and join a pack for 9 years. And if during that time he didn't consume human flesh, he could return to his human form.
If he didn't consume human flesh, he could become a human again.
Yeah.
Wow. I feel like as a wolf, that might be kind of hard.
I know.
You know?
Like, do you retain your human sentience as a wolf to help you in that act?
What a test of temptation.
In in medieval Europe, there is evidence of belief in werewolves in the law code of King Canute. Canute.
Please spell. What?
Cnut.
Oh, I thought it was going to be Knut. Nut.
No.
King Nut.
Yeah. He is fairly well known, but that also might just be because I had English history in England.
No, I'm sure.
Okay.
I'm really bad at names, especially with medieval Europe.
Yeah, I think that's a Saxon name if I remember correctly.
Oh yeah.
Also, Harold the First of Norway was said to have a group of warriors similar to berserkers, but they wore wolf skins instead of, I think berserkers wore bear skins, which is why they're called berserkers.
Yeah, they wore bear skins. I know because I played Assassin's Creed Odyssey.
Of course, yes. Wait, the Berserkers were in Odyssey and not.
Oh no, it was Valhalla. It was Valhalla.
I was like,
I totally forgot. No, yeah. It's because there's this character you meet who is, it's like something the Berserker,
yeah.
like Michael the Berserker or some shit like that. I don't know.
Jarnathan again.
Yeah, I told you I don't fucking remember names.
But yeah, so they wore wolf skins instead of bear skins, and they physically transform into wolves. They were said to fight ferociously in battle and not feel pain like the berserkers.
Yeah.
And also, they were associated with Odin because the wolf is one of Odin's, symbols or associated creatures.
Quite a few. The only one I remember is Fenrir.
Yeah, the ravens are the other big one, the two ravens.
Yeah, I thought there were other wolves.
Oh, other wolves. I thought you meant other creatures.
Oh no. Well, yeah, there's a lot of creatures.
Like specifically associated with Odin.
Oh, okay.
There's a depiction of this in one of my favorite sagas of all time ever, the Volsunga saga, or the saga of the Volsungs.
Mm-hmm.
And the Volsung family line is tied to Odin. There's a father and son pair. They go out into the woods and they put on the skins of wolves and are physically transformed into wolves as well. Also, Tolkien got a lot of inspiration for Middle Earth from that saga. So I have 2 copies of it. One has my annotations. Some of those annotations just say LOL WTF because it's a great story, but they are my annotations nonetheless.
That's what most of my annotations would probably be for a lot of things. LOL WTF.
Like every once in a while, there's something that is, I don't know, surprisingly insightful or intelligent, but most of them are just like,
it's hard to be insightful when you don't know what the hell is going on.
Some of those Nordic sagas are fucking wild.
Yeah.
This one has some. There are Slavic werewolf tales as well, and then there's this branch out because the Slavic tales became associated with revenants or vampires. So like werewolf panic kind of fell under vampire panic in Eastern Europe. In the more Germanic side of Europe, Western Europe, werewolf panic became under the umbrella of witchcraft panic. So in Western Europe, the rise of witch trials also saw accusations of lycanthropy, and they just kind of went hand in hand. And witchcraft trials are obviously another topic for another day, but for now,
hell yeah.
That panic really started in the 15th century in Switzerland and then spread through Europe and into the colonies, only really subsiding in the 18th century.
Yeah.
In 1521, 3 men were burned at the stake after confessing that they made a pact with the devil in exchange for food. So they met a man in black who gave them an ointment that turned them into werewolves. And they attended midnight gatherings of witches and hunted for and ate children.
So Will Smith gave them an ointment that turned them into werewolves.
Yeah, or
Tommy Lee Jones.
Yep, I was like, not Jamie Lee Curtis.
Oh my gosh, I would love to see Jamie Lee Curtis.
She'd be a great Man in Black. Are you kidding me?
Yeah, she would. She is a Man in Black.
Ooh, that'd be a good topic, like real stories of Men in Black. Ugh, I hate those.
Let me write it down.
Men in Black and Black Eyed Kids both are disgusting.
Black Eyed Kids?
Yes.
Okay.
Vomitous.
Please continue.
Okay.
You said they ate children?
Yeah. That was the end of that thought. Like there's a lot of thoughts that don't really go anywhere, and maybe they did if I had done, 4 hours more digging, but for each fact, but I did not have the time to do that.
Mm-hmm.
Some places had Pope-appointed inquisitors come in, and in other places, the locals just took matters into their own hands and assembled masses of townsfolk armed with clubs or whatever weapons they could find. And it was one of these groups who found an immigrant named Gilles Garnier. I bet his hair smelled great.
For taste.
He was living in the woods of a town called St. Claude in poverty. So they accused him of being a werewolf in 1573, and he confessed to killing 4 children and feeding their bodies to his family, but only after he was tortured.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
You know,
United States police tactics. Right, right, right.
again, similar to witchcraft trials.
Mm-hmm.
He was then burnt at the stake, even though a lot of people thought he didn't do it because he lived 60 kilometers away from where most of the missing children lived. One of the biggest panics of this period happened from 1764 to 1767, when about 100 men, women, and children are said to have fallen victim to the beast of Gévaudan.
Ooh,
Oh,
the beast of Gévaudan.
it was first reported around April of 1764 that a young girl who was tending a herd of cattle, there's a lot of shepherd people in these stories,
Mhm.
was
I mean,
attacked.
wolves.
Yeah,
Yeah.
was attacked by a creature that was like a wolf, but not a wolf. And she said it escaped because her herd protected her. What wolf is scared of a cow? I mean, I'd be scared of a dozen cows because they might trample me, but
Right.
the beast was believed to mostly attack and partially consume women, though men on their own would sometimes fall victim as well. And there were so many attacks, some people wondered if there was more than one beast. Soon, bounties were offered, so people were actively looking for the beast. In October, it was spotted stalking another shepherd only hours after a previous attack. The hunters chased the beast into an open field, fired their muskets, but the beast fell down temporarily and then just got up and ran away. In 1765, a large wolf believed to be the beast was shot and killed, and its body was stuffed and sent to the king. Poor wolf.
Okay. It was just a wolf.
Yeah.
This one. Okay, great.
Yeah. But attacks soon started again, and so people were like, there was more than one. And this one they thought behaved differently as it wasn't afraid of cattle as the first one seemed to be. But the crown was like, no, it's dead, it's fine. And so they ignored everything. And by the time June 1767 rolled around, another large outbreak of attacks had happened. And one of the lower down nobles, I think he was a marquis, was like, all right, I'll take care of it. So he organized a hunt and another wolf was shot. And this history.com article said that an autopsy was done on the wolf. And I just wanted to be like, an autopsy on an animal is called a necropsy.
History.com. What do you expect?
Fact checking.
Oh, girl.
History.com, the website brought to you by the channel that produces Ancient Aliens. Anyway, human remains were said to be found inside its stomach, and it was said to have non-wolf characteristics, as witnesses described it, being a wolf but not a wolf. Like talons, or maybe its neck was too long, or I don't know, it sounded really weird. The wounds on the victims were typically centered on the limbs and the head, though 16 of them were reported to have been completely decapitated.
Okay.
Animals don't really do that.
No. So like they found the heads?
I don't know.
Oh, okay. Because
unclear.
If the heads were gone, that's still kind of like a feat,
Yeah, and also, was it a clean decapitation or was it like the head was, chewed off?
Yeah, is it like nearly headless Nick?
Yeah.
Did they just go for the throat? Just kind of hang on by
is the neck stump all, chewed up? Or is it like a clean slice,
Yeah, these are the questions that we have. Gross.
So that being said, some people believe that the true beast may have been a serial killer.
Oh no. Totally not possible.
Are you ready for another book wreck?
Yes, let me get my pen ready.
I haven't read this one. I just saw it in my notes and I was like, I'm gonna add that to my list. It's called The Book of Werewolves by Sabine Baring Gould or Gould.
Sabine Baring
A-R, yeah.
Baring Gould. Dash?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Which explores the idea that werewolf lore was used to explain serial killings. Which brings me to the story of Peter Stump or Stubb. There's some variations on his surname, probably because this is 16th century German and they're, same sounds.
First the neck stump and now Peter Stump. Anyway.
Yeah.
I'll show you a stump.
Rewind a little bit, because that was the 1700s. We're going back to 1589 when he sat through one of the most famous werewolf trials in history that took place in Bethberg, Germany. Once again, after being stretched on the rack, aka torture, he confessed several things. Practicing black magic since he was 12, receiving a magical belt from the devil that allowed him to transform into a wolf, killing and eating 14 children and 2 pregnant women, content warning, whose fetuses were ripped out so he could eat their hearts hot and raw.
Why'd you have to add that last 3 words? What's up with that? Is that a quote? Please.
Yes.
Okay, cool. Great. Okay.
And finally, well, not finally, there's other stuff. Having an incestuous relationship with his daughter. Again, let's remember there's probably someone with an agenda behind the scenes somewhere here. And let's also remember that he had been tortured and was threatened with more torture. So we have to take all of this with a grain of salt, whether or not he was actually a serial killer.
This sounds like 2 truths and a lie, or 2 lies and a truth. You know what I'm saying? Like I think maybe there's just one thing that he may actually be guilty of.
Yeah. Well, one of the 14 children was his son, whose brains he was said to have eaten.
Mm-hmm.
He was also said to have had an affair with another distant relative, so that was also considered incestuous. And both that woman and his daughter were executed with him. He also confessed to having relationships with a succubus sent to him by the devil. After his arrest, he said that he threw the belt into a valley and the magistrate sent people out to look for it. But can you believe it? They never found anything.
Shocker.
So Peter Stump, his daughter, and his distant relative were all executed on October 31st, 1589.
Slay.
He was put onto a wheel and his flesh torn from his body with red hot pincers. His limbs were broken with the blunt side of an axe. And then he was beheaded and his body burned.
I'm so glad there was nothing with the fingernails. I think I would have lost it.
The 2 women were flayed and strangled, and their bodies were burnt with his. And then as a warning, a pole was put up with the wheel on it, and then a figure of a wolf, and then they topped it off with his severed head.
They were way into body horror then. You know?
Yeah. My main comment, again, sorry, Melinda, but what the fuck did those women do to deserve that?
Honestly.
Other than be women. If anything, again, I don't know what this man was or wasn't guilty of, but if anything, the worst thing that they did was be taken advantage of by a man in the patriarchy.
Mm-hmm. And they didn't even do that. It just did to them.
Yeah. Yeah, the worst thing they did was be a victim.
Yeah.
I can't wait. I can't wait for a compilation of...
I was just going to say there's going to be a compilation of all of the... Why do women get the freaking short end of the stick?
Worth noting, werewolf attacks on humans only happened very occasionally, especially until the 20th century, which makes sense when you think about population growth and industrialization and all that. Some scholars point out that wolves were the most feared predators in Europe, so it makes sense that they had become this part of scary folklore, I fucking hate that voice.
I hate you.
I hate that voice. You do it all the time. You know who else does it all the time? My boyfriend.
It's because it's so funny when it's ironic.
Oh
no! Scary wolf!
These scholars, they draw parallels to were creatures in other areas, like I mentioned at the top, tigers, jaguars. In those areas, those are all the most feared predators, and they have stories about people being, transformed into these different creatures. So I thought that was really interesting. Another thing worth noting, the Calvary Mater Newcastle Hospital in Australia conducted a study which found that people do be more crazy under a full moon.
People do be crazy. I can attest as a crazy. Anyway.
Between August 2008 and July 2009, there were 91 violent behavioral 91 violent behavioral incidents where patients bit, spat, and or scratched. Excuse you. And 23% of those 91 incidents happened during a full moon. And they were clear that many were under the influence of drugs or alcohol, but regardless, the intensity increased during the full moon. So people do be more crazy.
Because our blood is getting pulled to the moon. Shut up. I don't.
Gravity. I think we touched on this previously when we talked about vampires and zombies, but rabies is another potential explanation of werewolf folklore, something transmissible via bite. But becoming a werewolf through being bitten is one of the more recent additions to the lore. So how much accuracy is there is questionable.
I don't know.
Who needs accuracy?
Werewolves aren't even real. You know?
Who needs accuracy when it's not real?
I mean, it's very real.
Nothing is real.
Nothing is real. I'm not even real.
To quote the Beatles.
Money isn't real, everyone.
There are a lot of, I didn't really go deep into this, but their clinical lycanthropy is a thing. Speaking of crazy.
Clinical lycanthropy? What?
Yeah.
I've never heard of this.
Oh, it's a delusion that is most often associated, I think, with like affective or schizophrenic disorders. Okay. It's just like a severe psychosis.
Okay.
Where you think that you're a werewolf.
Mm-hmm. It's unfortunate that people actually experience that. So maybe werewolves are real.
Yeah, I mean, I guess it depends how you define real, but
yeah. Anyway,
Milo's like, yeah.
I knew you could hear him. He's so loud. He's upset. He's furious. About what? I don't know. I could not tell you.
He's always upset.
It's true. Me too. He could probably sense my energy, to be honest.
Yeah. That's why he's been insane all day. Oh, Luna left.
Oh, no, I didn't even notice.
I did find one fun fact about, I mean, as fun as facts can get when they involve the Nazis, but in Germany, one of Hitler's headquarters was called Werewolf. Operation Werewolf was this commando force that would operate behind enemy lines, I guess. Which isn't the fun fact, but there was a fictional depiction of Operation Werewolf in True Blood.
Yes.
And I thought I would bring that up since we've talked about True Blood a little bit.
Yes. Alcide, he's so fine. He is so fine. Hold on.
That's Joe, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. I know.
Yes.
Also, the fact that he's now a D&D nerd just makes it even better.
I think he always has been.
I mean, I'm sure he always has been, but now that the public knows about it.
Oh, got it. Gotcha. Yeah, because apparently he's DM'd for celebrities for as long as he's been around Hollywood, I guess. I mean, also, is no longer with why can't I'm really bad at names. I can't remember her name.
I know. I want to say Holly, but that's not right.
Sofia Vergara,
yeah.
Yes.
As of this year. Oh, it's crazy. I mean, she's also
so beautiful.
Yeah.
So fine.
Yeah. I I love Modern Family. I'm just gonna throw that out there. I don't really think we've ever talked about that, but Modern Family is hilarious.
I'm glad. I actually never really watched it because I just never watched stuff on, what is that, ABC? So anyway, True Blood.
Yeah. The first feature film to use an anthropomorphic werewolf was Werewolf of London in 1935.
Wow.
Fun fact.
I've not seen that, but I've seen American Werewolf in London.
Yeah. I think I watched that one time and it was a very long time ago. And then there's American Werewolf in Paris too, I guess.
Mhm. I didn't know that.
For that movie, Universal Studios used a Balkan werewolf tale where there's a plant associated with lycanthropy. Because unlike all of their other Universal horror movies at that time, there was no werewolf literature, according to them, to draw upon, which is kind of bullshit in my mind because The Werewolf of Paris by Guy Endore, that came out in 1933, so 2 years prior to this movie. But it was set against the French Revolution, I believe. It's also really sad. There's incest, there's rape, there's trauma, a lot of sexual trauma, especially. It's kind of depressing. But it's, if you want to read the classics, it's a classic, the werewolf classic.
Yeah, I think, well, trauma, sexual trauma, things like that, still used as plot devices.
Yeah.
Not as much, I think, but
Yeah.
maybe I just don't consume the media that does.
I don't know where this idea comes from. So one of my favorite podcasts is Strange Studies of Strange Stories, formerly the H.P. Lovecraft Literary Podcast. And they covered, so they read stories and talk about them and kind of do like a plot summary. They don't necessarily do an analysis, but they'll, kind of how we've done with some of these stories. They talk about like pop culture and that kind of thing. And when they covered Jekyll and Hyde a long time ago, that podcast has been on for like 15 years. So
Yeah.
can you imagine? They made the case that Jekyll and Hyde is kind of essentially the basis of like werewolf stories because it's the first story, the first popular like literary story where we have that transformation happening. And I thought that was a really interesting concept. Like, obviously, it's not transforming into an animal like these other stories of therianthropy, but
Oh, I can see it.
but it is this story of transformation and the horror of transforming back into yourself and being like, oh God, what have I done? Which is such a trope in werewolf stories.
I was just gonna say it's a common trope. You said it before me. I wonder if like if vampires had that kind of transformation where like on the night of the full moon, a human has the desire to drink blood and turns into a bat and all of this stuff. Kind of like this transformation into a werewolf. I think be very different. A lot of the vampire movies and stories we've talked about be very different. If vampires weren't just like they are what once you are a vampire, you are this. You
Yeah.
know, they just sometimes become like that one group you'd mentioned that they turn into wolves just a few days out of the year.
Yeah.
I
Not
wonder if
every full moon or
what if vampires were like that?
yeah.
Huh. Or some other,
Yeah.
monstrous creature, supernatural creature. Oh, speaking of which, I can't remember werewolves in Supernatural. I know it was a thing, but I just can't remember like
I remember Lugaru in Supernatural more than
mhm.
werewolves.
Yeah, it
Wasn't
must have been the early
wasn't
seasons.
it that girl? Wasn't there a girl
Yes, that
who
was
was
like
like a
way into
recurring?
Sam,
Yeah.
right?
And then she came back as a werewolf eventually or something.
Right. Okay. Oh, and there was like Madison.
Yeah. Like they saved her
Madison.
from a werewolf originally, but then it turns
Mhm.
out later on that she had become one. I can't remember.
That was like in season 8-ish. Okay, so the Supernatural Wiki says werewolves showed up in season 2 and then season 8 through 15.
Mm.
So, hello? Can I get like a Claire Novak? Why does that sound familiar? Okay. Oh, Heart. That's the episode. In Heart, Sam and Dean haven't encountered a werewolf since they were young and come across a series of deaths they suspect are caused by one. They meet and begin protecting a woman named Madison, who is a werewolf herself. Sam learns that she was recently bitten by a mugger in the same area where their werewolf was actually a werewolf, and John's journal, throwback to John's journal, suggests, looking at you, Jeffrey D. Morgan, I forgot you were in Supernatural. John's journal suggests that killing the werewolf who sired her may cure Madison. Dean goes hunting and finds Madison's neighbor Glenn, who in his werewolf form has been killing prostitutes. Dean shoots Glenn with a silver bullet, killing him. Madison doesn't turn into a werewolf the next night, despite it being a full moon, so they believe her cured. However, when she falls asleep the next night, she transforms again. Seeing no other solution, Madison begs Sam to kill her, and he reluctantly shoots her with a silver bullet. That's right, because that was supposed to be like a playback to when he saw his
Mm.
dead girlfriend Jess, who was played by
Yes.
Adrienne Palicki. Some known werewolves. I forgot that Charlie became a werewolf, right?
She did?
I in like before she died, I thought. Oh, no, this is a different Charlie.
Oh.
Man, I don't remember Supernatural at all. Oh, Garth was? Do you remember Garth?
When the guild was really relevant, the GM at the coffee shop that I used to work at always told me that I looked like Charlie.
There's a lot of it might have been because did you have red hair at the time?
Oh, Felicia Day, yeah.
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 Sorry, I wasn't sure that's what you were asking.
Well, yeah, obviously I had red hair at the time. I think it was a combination of that and my overbite, and then also maybe just me being an awkward person because he was an awkward person.
No. Sure. I have a hard time recalling faces. Well, I also have a hard time recalling names. I just have the memory of a rock. I have a hard time saying like, "Oh, I think this person looks like this other person," unless
Yeah.
it's someone whose face I've seen a lot of, like Chris Evans.
Uh-huh.
You know.
You've seen Chris Evans' face more than mine.
Oh, well, I don't. I think no, I have definitely seen your face more than Chris Evans, but I don't. I don't see Felicia Day.
And also, I mean, I was what, 22 at the time, so
You probably look different, yeah. So it was 2010.
yeah, I moved to Manhattan in
What was
2010.
Felicia Day in 2010?
The
Was that?
Guild.
Oh, well, besides that,
Duh. I also don't know if Eureka was out around that time.
I don't know. Uh,
Oh, she didn't really show up in Eureka though.
in a 2-season arc on the sci-fi series Eureka.
It's a good show. I liked it anyway.
I'm trying to scroll down to 2010.
I'm gonna eat one of
Oh,
these
in
onions.
2010, she was in a TV movie called Red Werewolf Hunter.
Oh,
We've got full shackle.
ooh, that movie.
What
Not
movie?
technically werewolves, but the Red Riding Hood movie with Amanda Seyfried.
What? Oh, oh. I was actually going to talk about Little Red Riding Hood in my episode.
I remember I haven't watched it since it came out, but I remember really liking it. It does have a really good soundtrack. Fever Ray does multiple songs on that soundtrack.
Freaking Gary Oldman was in that? Bruh.
In Red Riding Hood?
Yeah. Oh,
Was he? Oh yeah. Billy Burke?
oh yeah, Billy Burke was in this. What? Max Irons?
I don't know who that is. He related to Jeremy Irons. He
I
looks
believe
familiar.
so. He was in The Host. It was a terrible movie, but I used to be obsessed with it.
Was that based on The Host by Stephanie Meyer?
Yeah. Was that by Stephanie Meyer?
Mm-hmm.
Hold on.
It's the book she wrote after Twilight.
Hold on. Oh my God, it is. I didn't realize that the movie was a Stephanie Meyer creation. Well, now I hate my life. No wonder that movie was terrible. But I loved it. I loved it. I
You're
did.
allowed.
I mean, I was a preteen, I think.
Yeah, it's fair.
Where were we? I don't even remember.
Well, we were talking about Felicia Day.
Oh yeah. No, before that.
We were
I was
talking
I
about
had, like,
Supernatural.
I had started out
Werewolves
with
and Supernatural.
talking about like what if vampires were or other like
Yeah.
sort of creature was like a werewolf.
We were just doing a pop culture rundown, I think.
Oh, were you done?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Great. That's fun.
Okay. The end.
The end.
Recording
stopped.
Well, that concludes this week's broadcast. I hope you've enjoyed it. If you wish to stay in touch, reach out to us at broadcastfromthebelfry@gmail.com or stalk us on Instagram at broadcastfromthebelfry. Again, I hope you've enjoyed our little show. Please rate and review. And until next week, stay spooky.